we'll start with Brian.
Excellent water.
Oh.
Brian Blake, Superintendent of Schools for Sanborn Regional School District.
Rebecca Halsey, member at large, Sanborn Regional School District.
Cheryl Gannon from Kingston.
Dustin Ramey from Sanborn Regional School District from Kingston.
Jennifer Kamakato, Director of Student Services for Sanborn Regional School District.
Wendy Miller from Newton.
Jan Bennett from Newton.
Okay, and I'm Ida Keen from Fremont School Board.
Andy Colofer, Fremont School Board.
Deb Gentner, Fremont School Board.
Sharon Girardi, Fremont School Board.
Fred Fraze, Fremont School Board.
John Safina, Atlas School Principal.
Sarah Krebs, Special Ed Coordinator.
Michelle Lehman, the Superintendent Transition.
Laurie Berger, Business Administrator.
Welcome.
Welcome
For
to
having
Alice.
us.
We'll start the Fremont School Board joint board meeting with Sanborn Regional this February 12th, 2013 at 6:37. With a salute to the flag, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then we'll do a roll call, please.
Fraze here.
Girardi here.
Keen here.
Colofer here.
And for the joint board, I think we should have the school board members also, for the record. Halsey here.
Gannon here.
Ramey here.
Miller here.
Bennett here. And we'll start the meeting off. Did everybody get a copy of the agenda? Okay. Our school board had already reviewed the minutes and accepted them. I don't know if your board had the opportunity to do that from our last joint board meeting. And there were just a couple of follow-up items that we had noted. One was that we had requested if we could possibly have an academic report on Fremont students, which I think Brian Stack said was doable. So I don't know if anything's been worked on with that yet. And the second item was the foreign language and music program. There was some discussion about having a study done, I guess, from K through 12 at Sanborn, and we asked if we could be invited to that as well. I don't know if that's started yet.
There is not going to start.
Okay, nothing started.
Would be, in terms of the music program, we've made some shifts in our programming within the district. But in terms of any kind of a study.
No, I think the foreign language was the one.
Foreign language, we've started to look at that, but not in terms of making recommendations to the school board.
We would love to be a part of that, just to hear what you're doing, because we're talking about trying to get foreign language onto our curriculum here. And we're trying to align with you as much as we can with what your students are coming into Sanborn Regional High with. I think I can speak for the board to say that we're trying to align as much as we can with you in that regard. So it'd be helpful for us to know what you find out. And then we have section 5 of the agenda, which I believe Michelle, the administration at the school is
Yes.
going to be presenting.
What we've done is we've prepared a presentation to help you understand how we are trying to align to your curriculum, to prepare our students to be high achievers at Sanborn Regional. And so I've asked several members of our team, including our principal, sped director, our reading interventionist, several teachers, our assistant principal to speak to our guidance counselor about what exactly it is we're doing to make that a reality. So, I think we're gonna start with Jen Thomas, who is our reading specialist, and she's also a member of our response to intervention, instruction, I should say, task force.
Where should I stand?
You
Here?
can stand right there.
Okay, so just to get the nerves. Yeah. I'm a little bit of a nervous Nelly in front of adults on this side.
We know it.
All right, so, response to intervention has been up and running at Ellis for the middle school since 2010, and the elementary school since January 2011. When we started this process, we literally, all of us met in this classroom right over here, which is the smallest square footage in the building. Every middle school staff person was in the room, and we had sticky notes, pink, blue, green, and yellow, one for each grade level. And we had all of the kids' names in the entire middle school on the board. And we put different stickers based on their NEWA and kneecap data. So it was very humble beginnings, I guess. So after that, we would pair the middle school staff people with the students based on their needs. My heart rate. Like $1.20 right now. So it's just kind of.
Cardio workout.
All right, thank you. So now we have a leadership committee, and we have 2 middle school teachers on that committee. 1 language arts, 1 math, myself, our PE teacher, and 3 elementary school teachers. What we do is every 6 weeks, we meet at the SAU and we analyze the NEWA and kneecap data. We also look at teacher recommendations for student placement. And any students in Tier 2 or Tier 3, based on NEWA and kneecap data, are placed in math or reading intervention groups, small intervention groups. Students not in need of remediation are then assigned to an enrichment group. Currently, in the middle school only, we're using 3 scientifically researched intervention programs. We're actually always looking for more every year. We try to get 1 if we can. So right now we have Triumphs as a reading intervention, corrective reading, and Number Worlds for a math intervention. For enrichment, we offer a plethora of exciting interdisciplinary studies, such as, right now the 7th grade is doing hands-on forensic science. We have Anatomy 101, the senses, botany, algebra honors, destination imagination, engineers week, future city competition, and the Holocaust, an interdisciplinary study. Those are just a few, but some of the good ones. Let's see. What we found over the last 3 years is that the number of middle school students who are in need of interventions has dropped dramatically. Currently, we have 27% of our 5th through 8th grade students involved in some sort of reading or math intervention. When we started in the fall of 2010, approximately 55% of our students were receiving reading and math intervention. So we've cut that number in half in the last 2.5 years. With the full implementation of RTI K-8 currently, and we just started K-6 Treasures as our reading program, our hope is that in the very near future, we're going to say 90% of our middle school students will be in enrichment groups rather than in need of any reading or math interventions. So, that's it. And I am going to introduce Mrs. Krebs, Sarah Krebs, and Mrs. Melissa McKee.
You're probably gonna hear some chuckles because some of my graphics come up. It's not just
right there, so I'm gonna have to have you click a lot. And
Oh, okay.
everybody seemed to think that that was really funny that I did that.
She's already started clicking, start talking.
So it's about the kids, not us, Dr. Blake. So as the special ed coordinator for the district, I mean, in some ways, don't really quote me on this, my job is made a lot easier because of the infrastructure that we're building here at Ellis School. My responsibility is to kind of work with staff and maintain and give specialized instruction for our students that are struggling. But I think over the last few years, the staff has done, and the administration has done an amazing job just further developing the infrastructure. So it's a whole school approach. The solid curricular foundation, we have everyday math, we have the Triumphs Treasures Reading Program, we've got all sorts of scientifically based interventions, we have Triumphs for the Reading Number Worlds, Treasure Chest for Title I, they have access to Spire, Wilson, other reading interventions as they need it. And we're also really, really watching how much we pull kids out with it and looking at, do they really need specialized instruction? Do they just need intervention? The thing that we want the most is for the kids to be accessing the curriculum like everybody else first and foremost. So we you can keep clicking. So we have,
Whoops.
that's okay, full day kindergarten and preschool. I just wanted everybody to be aware that what we're trying to do is really front load in the early grades. We're trying to front load the services and supports. We want the kids to have a very solid foundation so that hopefully they're not going to need remediation and specialized instruction when they're older. You can see we've got some of the staff posted up here.
Question?
Oh, I have a question.
How long have you had full day kindergarten?
Open kindergarten is.
Years?
This is, we're in our second year.
Second year?
And I know that the kindergarten teachers and interventionists have been gathering data. They have started RTI groups just like everybody else, and it has really, really helped identify those kids who might be struggling and might need more support.
The reason I asked that is we're looking to expand our programs to full day.
I think that's an excellent. Any other questions? All right, next. Okay, so if I say response to intervention, I'm just used to saying that. We're calling RTI response to instruction. It's a school-wide effort, it's data-driven, matches the needs of students. We use this process in helping to determine if children are eligible for special education. We want to make sure that it's not just a matter of an intervention before we identify them as learning disabled. Okay, so before the kids even get to grade 9, there's a lot of collaboration that's going on behind the scenes. Melissa McKeon, our out-of-district coordinator, and also our high school LEA and everything else that you do on a daily basis. Thank you, by the way. She helps really transition the kids, the 8th graders. She's the LEA for our 8th grade students so that when they go to the high school, she's already met the parents, she's started to build a relationship with the students, and she's going to follow them up through grade 12. We've got really important stakeholders we need to involve is the parents, administrators, middle and high school staff. Guidance is a huge part of the transition process. There's a lot of collaboration that goes on. Melissa, did you want to, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but did you want to talk about?
I think the next slide.
Okay. So we have tours, high school staff, actually administration and some teachers were just here yesterday, I believe, going over course selection. We talk a lot about and wanting to align our curriculums so that our kids are as prepared as everybody else when they hit 9th grade. And I put in following the child because just when they leave this building, it doesn't mean that we stop tracking their progress. Being interested in making sure that they're doing well, and that's regular ed or special ed. So in order to accomplish all that, we want to plan early.
So I've already met with the special ed case managers at the high school, and we started talking about where the new needs for the incoming students, what kind of courses are they going to need so that they're aligned with your freshman learning community, and they get into the schedule when it matches, so you can build a master schedule on time and so forth. We also, as Sarah was mentioning, if kids need additional tours or anything to make sure that they have a smooth transition to high school, we arrange those.
And the eighth grade case manager is actively involved in the course selection for the students identified as special ed. He has to sign off on all their course selections and get approval, because we want the kids to go in with high expectations. We have high expectations for them, but we want to monitor what is an appropriate level for them to be at as well.
I do also try to, beyond try, the students who are at the Seacoast Charter School will be transitioning to the high school that are from the community. I also assist with that transition.
I think it's fair to say that a lot of what Melissa does is above and beyond what things that I would have even thought to do, so I think it helps a lot. Any questions?
Just as a comment, as the Director of Student Services, I speak with Betty Lenzo, regularly the building coordinator at the high school, and she just wanted to make sure to say her thanks as well, because she feels that it's been a work in progress for the last few years, and I know it's with tireless efforts of Melissa as well as the rest of the folks here. For the kids with IEPs, it's really been a smooth process, and so that's an extended thank you from her. I just wanted to share that.
We appreciate it. All right. Next.
So I get to present the data. So, when I first arrived here at Ellis School in 2009, the scores, the kneecap scores, were not that great. We had just become a school in need of improvement, and there was a lot of talk about how the scores were going down. And in analyzing the scores up to 2009, what I noticed is that they were not going down, they were staying the same. But everybody else who was already a school in need of improvement or struggling, they were making great efforts to get their scores up. So eventually, they met where Ellis was, and then exceeded Ellis. So therefore, our ranking went down, our index score went down because we kind of stayed status quo. And I found that the teaching, the instruction was excellent, the kids were excellent. It was, basically they had fantastic tier 1 instruction. We didn't look past that, and that was the thing. We had to look at the students who were struggling, not just refer them to special ed, and that's why we introduced RTI, which was January of 2010. So that we have had it in place for 4 years now. Well, this is my 4th year, yes, this is my 4th year. So we started with the middle school. So just to show you the impact, last year, our scores went up. We did make AYP in reading. And our middle school students, if you look over here, this was 2009 when I got here, we had pretty, 63% proficiency total for the school, 59%. It was all about the same. 7th grade was a little higher, but they were all around the same. Then in 2011, you see more of a dramatic shift as far as growth goes. This is when I got here, this was our 6th grade. They had 53% proficiency. They were the ones that went through 3 years of RTI. And by the time they graduated, they had 89% proficiency rates and a growth of 36%. And the growth of the other grades, the elementary, they weren't as high. So you had, this 3rd grade was 59%, and then they had 51%. So follow the colors, you follow the same class. So you had 71, this is 79%. We saw real dramatic growth in the middle school grades, and they're the ones who kind of carried us over the finish line for AYP, which usually it's the other way around. The elementary students kind of carry you over the finish line. So this year. We went up a little bit. We went about 2% proficiency rates for this is levels 3 and 4. So we have about 75%. And if you see the growth, of course this is the first year they're taking it. They went down a little bit from one year to the next, went up about 9%, then 4%. but our 7th and 8th grades went up about 11% and 25%. We had 81% proficiency this year in our 8th graders. So which means that the RTI is working. This class had a very heavy special ed population, academically wasn't doing as well. So this was a big growth, and we really kind of attribute it to our RTI because we're actually now starting to see more growth, and especially from stories from the teachers and the assessments they're doing in the classroom with treasures and so forth, that this has had an impact. So this is reading. So if we go to the next slide, I'll show you math. Math is a trickier one. Math was kind of stagnant for a couple of years, and we were a school in need of improvement for math as well, and we missed it in all areas in math in 2010. 2011, we made the jump. I think because our reading proficiencies started going up, so the more you can read, the better they could do the math, because we have everyday math that's very language heavy. So with the improvement in the reading, then we saw the improvement in the math, so we went up to 67%. We made AYP in all areas except for the special ed subgroup, so that kicked us off, but we would have been AYP in math as well. This year we've seen, it's funny, math, and even historically, math went like this, stayed, went up, stayed, so we're in our staying year. So we didn't go down, we had 67% this year proficiencies. But as you can see, our upper grades are really scoring, they're the ones that are making our index scores go up, giving us the AYP. So there are 6th, 7th, and 8th graders definitely already for the high school. This is previous year, they went up about 6%. This class went up 19% this year. This is their 4th year in RTI in math. The next slide. Okay, this was 2009. Anything in red is basically we didn't meet or exceed their scores. And these are all area schools. And what I had done was I broke it down. These are just 6th, 7th, and 8th grades. So if you see in 2009, reading, we didn't meet or exceed anybody. And here, we were just right around the same, because I said math did have a jump around 2007, 2008 after everyday math. So this is our area comparisons in 2009. Can I see the next slide? So this is 2011. So anything is in black, we either met or exceeded the scores. Basically, so now we're more in line with area schools as far as reading proficiencies, and in line definitely with Sandburg, which is great. And so our kids are on the same level. Next slide, please. This is this year. I was a little surprised. I mean, we did go up, like I said, this is just 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. We went up a little bit, but we didn't fare as well the year before, as far as meeting or exceeding in reading. But math stayed consistent, but we met or exceed all the schools in black. So we're competitive, I guess, if you want to call it competitive or whatever it is. We really have been working hard in getting the achievement up there for these students. Next slide. This is where our real growth in reading. We went up 2 percentage points as far as our proficiency rates for 3 and 4. The big jump this year is 2011-12. These are our level 2s and our level 1s. We had 10% of our students, this is K through 8, 3 to 8, 10% of our students were basically non-readers, level 1, and 17% were level 2. So what happened was, rather than our level 3s and 4s really going up, it was this. We have 4% this year of our students in level 1 as non-readers, and basically they went up to the level 2, so which is partially proficient. So in our 8th grade, there was 0% level 1 students. So this is school-wide. So what we've done is we've basically, our interventions have, this is really showing what it's doing, in that we have, targeted our non-readers, and they're doing much better. And kneecap science, RTI, 4th grade, this is the first year, last year was our first year in RTI, And we took about 6 weeks and did science inquiry tasks, really worked on not teaching to the test, but how to do in a science inquiry task. You know, taking past kneecap tests, you know, the released items, to go over, you know, how to do them. And they were fantastic classes. The kids were having a great time, and I would go around and, you know, it's not like when you do the kneecap test where it's kind of quiet and people working in the group. It was a fun activity. They were comparing the beaks of the birds, and one of them, and the one was they did the thing with the magnets, and it was a great experience for the kids, and it really showed the effect. This was the first year in the history of taking for our 4th grade, I'm talking about 4th grade, first year in the history of our kneecap scores that we either met, or we actually exceeded the state. Right? Yeah, we exceeded the state this year. This is the first time we've done it. So the RTI is working. Our students are achieving better, and we're seeing the difference. We're seeing the difference within the kids, not only with the tests. And I think the next slide will show you that. Discipline. I know that there has been discussions that I've had when I've gone to meetings and talking about discipline with our students. These are the total number of discipline referrals in 2009-10. These are majors and minors. We had 1,002, 2010, let's see, 11. 930, in 2011-12, 895. So they've been going down steadily. Last year, month to month, we also have, this is how it was laid out last year, and this is this year, as far as month to month referrals. I think we have actually pulled back on the amount of PBIS that we're doing with the kids. We don't need to do as many rollouts. We've had several discussions this year. It's like, what are we going to do for a rollout? I don't know. What do we need to do? And it's not because we put more rules in place. We didn't put more consequences in place. We really, you know, we do have an assistant principal this year, and Mr. Totten was excellent. This is his 2nd year here, and we, you know, he and I are on the same page as far as discipline, which really helps when you have an administrative team that have the same philosophy with discipline. He's very good with the kids. He's very good with the parents. So they see that. They see that these are the rules and this is what we expect, and they're happier. They're successful. You see that most of our students, as Jen pointed out, 55% of our kids, when we first started RTI, was it 8th graders, Jen? 5th through 8th. 55% of our 5th through 8th graders were receiving interventions, which is things like corrective reading, which for some of them did not like doing corrective reading, did not like doing these interventions. But now we only have 27% of our students in interventions, and a smaller special ed population as well. So the bottom line is they're more successful. They're happier in school. They're engaged. So we don't have to do as much. I will say, what did it go up to, Mr. Totten, this month?
Well, January was 37.
And I was glad to see that, because I was a little worried. I'm like, wait a minute. These still are kids, and I hope we haven't scared them or anything. I don't know what it is, but you know, kids are going to be kids, and we've had a lot of indoor recesses because of the weather, and I would expect to see that happen, especially in the winter when they're cooped up and so forth. So this is real data. You know, I didn't get to add our January one, but it has gone up to 37, and surprising that made me happy. I don't know why, but it did, because I know that our kids are still kids, and they're not only learning, but they're still kids. And that's it. Now, Mr. Totten and Mr. McEachern to come up and talk about the honors algebra, which is part of our RTI program as well.
Sanborn High School allows its 8th graders at our school and at Sanborn Middle School to earn a elective credit for algebra, elective credit for showing competencies in algebra, as well as placement in the application for algebra class in their 9th grade. It's something that the Sanborn Regional Middle School has been doing for several years now, and something that we wanted to partake in with our students here. So early last year, myself and Irma, after talking with Mr. Safina, started communicating more with Sanborn High School, and that included Michael Turmel and Ellen Hume Howard came down to meet with us, and we really talked about the articulation agreement, what they thought that we needed to do here in order to prepare our kids, and how we were going to continue to communicate in the future. That left Irma meeting with Ann Parent, who teaches the 8th grade algebra class at middle school, as well as high school math teacher, and Paul Arsenal, who is the high school math department, meeting several times last year, observing each other's classes, them coming over here, Irma going over there several times. And the second half of last year, we kind of did a trial run with it. We called it an advanced algebra class during our RTI class, involving our higher kids, giving them a chance to have a little bit of extra algebra. This year, we finalized our criteria, and with some communication with Michael Turmel again, made sure that we were off to a good start with that, and we agreed that we were going to continue to have Irma and Ann meet monthly in person, and to kind of coordinate the classes a little bit, and to make sure that our students were getting the same experience. That was one of the concerns going through here, was that we were having 2 different middle schools, and eventually they were going to funnel into the same high school, and we were going to give that an honors type class in 9th grade. We want to make sure that the 2 sets were performing at the same level. So we have that constant communication. I think that communication has also helped out, because when Brian Stack, was bringing in the high school math coach, he remembered about Irma and invited Irma over to meet with the high school math coach as well too. So I think we're kind of now more in the back of each other's minds when anything comes up with math, which has been great. So also to make sure that our kids are kind of funneling in together, we wanted to make sure that we kind of started at the same place. So our entrance criteria to our honors algebra class looks very similar to the Sanborn Middle School one. Minor tweak, I think, we just have a slightly different number for the NEWA score, but other than that, it's pretty much the same. This enables us to kind of start with the same type of kid and move them along at an accelerated pace during their 8th grade year to ensure that they're getting the competencies that they need.
So since I arrived here 5 years ago, the first thing I did is I asked Mr. The superintendent here, Bill, I can't remember his last name. No, the first one.
Norm Tango.
Tanguay?
Yes. So he sent me to the high school to actually observe high school teachers and see how they taught the algebra class, because what I was teaching here is an algebra class to the 8th grade. So I went to observe the algebra classes there, and I realized, okay, we have different programs, yet we can do the same curriculum. And then since then, I've been in touch with the teachers there. It's like, how are kids doing, on and off. And then finally, last year we did the RTI trial of the advanced course, and I started meeting with Paul Arsenal, who was the math director there, and now is Kevin. So I still keep in touch with Kevin now, and Perry too. And also Mr. Turmel mostly, and Brian Stack too. So they share with me their course title for Algebra 1, basically. So they say, like Irma, you're doing Algebra 1. This is our Algebra 1. This is what we're doing with our kids. This is how we're measuring. So this is exactly what I'm doing, If they're measuring through numbers and quantity, this is the same thing I'm going to measure. So if you look at my grade book, you're going to see numbers and quantities. You're going to see expressions. You're going to see equations. Not only that, but I have learned that they also grade using the mode sometimes. So guess what I'm doing? I'm also following that. We're looking at the mode because we're doing parallel. Not only that, but last 2 weeks ago or 2.5 weeks ago, I got to go and join Rob Lukasiak. So, and I was really glad that Mr. Stack actually gave me the opportunity to shadow him. And he did an activity with the 11th graders. And I thought it would be a good activity for our 8th graders. And the way that he did it, it was basically, it's all about smart balance. Okay, so he took some activities and he makes the kids see how math it is actually. So I took it one step ahead, it's like, I'm not gonna give them a test, I'm gonna make you do something different, because you are now in an algebra course, advanced. So what I did is I gave our kids data, and data about crickets, okay? And there,
you'll see like, 28.8. Oh, how can a cricket chirp 28.8? Mrs. McKee trying to say the 29 or 30. And I go, well, think about it. Oh, it's an average. Okay, so there's 50 points in there that are an average, and the kids needed to come up with an equation to that. Were they able to do it? Absolutely. Not only that, but I asked them to use Excel, which is, a way to use math in the real world. So they plotted their points, their data, and everything to check that their equation actually was correct or not. Not only that, but I gave them another equation to graph. And then I asked them what is the difference. And we talk about maybe different temperatures, different regions. Maybe that bottom line was a different cricket. And they were right. The top data was based on snowy tree crickets. The bottom one was based on a tree cricket. So they derive all that information on their own. And this is what I would do. And that idea I got from listening to your high school and talking to your teachers, and how is it that they are applying math, not just learning it from the book, not, doing, we know how to do equations, okay, fine. So now how do we use an equation? And that's something that I took from your math department, and I was happy to. So. Any questions?
So next we have Dawn and Michelle.
So John, you said I would just have to answer a couple of questions. I didn't know till I walked in here that I was going to be standing up front here.
Oh.
Thank you so much.
Surprise.
Okay. I was asked to give some information on how we keep our 8th graders ready for the high school, but before I jump into that, completely off topic, I need to connect to the RTI. One of the things that happens from year to year is that you have to change your curriculum for the kids, for what's expected, going from New Hampshire state standards to Common Core. And one of the things that I think I realized even more clearly tonight than I think I'd ever realized was being able to up my curriculum over the past 4 or 5 years, because I'm not having to slow things down for a large population of kids who are non-readers or limited readers. It's changed the pace of my class. And I knew it, but I don't think I really realized it quite to the degree that those graphics were really showing me. And there was something up there that made me realize that I'm going at a different pace. And it has impacted the way that we teach here at the school. Was not my original focus of what I have up here, but I needed to add that. Some of the big focuses in my class, it's always been a strength of mine, was the writing program from the time I came right out of college. Our kids are writing constantly, whether it's writing about the literature that they're reading. We do start off with personal narratives and jump into the essays and the research. The process that I go through, I focus more on the techniques than the topics. In the beginning of the year, they literally can write on anything, really anything, as long as it's school appropriate. We start with getting kids loving writing first, because I do a survey at the beginning of the year. About 80% of them swear they hate writing. The same survey at the end of the year, I get 90% of them claiming that they like it or can at least deal with it. I have a 1 to 5. I find that a big accomplishment. It's not on the Common Core, it's not on the state standards, but to be honest with you, that's a measure right there that I appreciate. Because I know that when the kids get up to high school, they're not gonna see that first assignment and crawl under the table. I know they're going to approach it thinking, you know what, I think I can do that. So again, we begin with a narrative and we go through. I work more on the skills. I can apply focus and detail level and word choice to a personal narrative, and then jump into applying that to an essay, applying that to a research paper, and going forward from there. So we really work on the skills. We work on putting everything together, all the discrete skills that they've been picking up along the year, really looking at the whole. Obviously we have the reading skills that belong in there. And one of the things that I'm finding that has changed over the last 2 years has been the introduction of the Common Core and looking more closely at that, and finding that I'm adding in more nonfiction as time goes. frankly, I love the fiction. It's my love, but I also know that things are expected, and I know that out in the real world, I pick up a magazine and read about, you know, a new forensic DNA technology, because I like that kind of sciencey, goopy stuff. And that's the kind of stuff I read outside, and I need to realize that kids need to be introduced to that early so that they can process that as well. I've spent a lot more time this year on that than any other year, like I said, based on the Common Core and realizing what kids need. I don't think I have ever taught the same year twice in a row. Everything changes. Vocabulary, we do the, what I call common sense editing. We focus highly on what is needed out in the real world. I have a couple of studies that I share with the kids on, you know, the 30 most commonly made mistakes out in the real world. They polled everybody from doctors, businessmen, anybody but teachers, by the way, because we see everything. They polled everybody out there and they said, okay, here are some letters, real letters that people have produced, find the mistakes. Nobody found the gerund, but they all found the ITS versus the IT apostrophe S, that sort of thing. What real errors do you need to have to succeed in the real world? And we go through all kinds of, how do real adults figure that out? You know, how do we listen for commas? Again, that may not be in a grammar book, but those little lessons that we go through and the kids go, oh, now I get it. And the proof is in the pudding, because of course, as their writing continues on, they may not be able to quote the rule out of the grammar book, but boy, can they do it. And that's always a great thing for me. We do spend a lot of time on vocabulary, and I love watching the kids come in the next day saying, I heard that word last night on TV. One of the other big things that I try to do, I am sort of one of the 8th grade people. I've been doing the 8th grade for nine years now, and I consider myself sort of one of the liaisons to the high school, and I think I'm probably the one that says the words high school more than any other teacher going, although Mrs. McEachern I think is catching up with me. I am constantly talking to them about what do you need in high school, what do you need in college, talking long term. It's more than just 8th grade, guys. What do you have to do? And we spend a lot of time talking about things like time management and knowing what works for you. Well, what's your learning style? Do you learn better by listening to things? Do you learn better by seeing things? Do you learn better by doing your vocabulary with flashcards? This year we've started mobile devices. The kids are bringing in their iPods and iPhones and using them that way. I've caught kids out in the lobby studying their vocabulary words. Don't tell them I noticed. I saw them. It was wonderful. So trying to hit kids where it works for them and trying to figure out, not only for me to figure out their styles, but for them to figure out their learning styles, because frankly, once they leave my room, they have to know that. So we spent a lot of time working on that. And I am extremely fortunate. I would like to, again, I try and thank, you know, our past principals, current principals, IT, school board who has provided our school with tech resources that are a dream come true, especially this year. I have a one-on-one lab in my room. If you go in my room, I have desktops, you press a button, the computer comes right up out. We use that on a daily basis. The kids are using it not only for writing, they don't write on Word documents now, they're writing on wikis, which when Mrs. Hadwin was up from the high school the other day, she talked about all the kids using Google Apps up at the high school. This is a direct connection. The wiki space that we're using is very similar to the Google app that they're going to be using, and writing in the cloud and using the resources that are out there. We do use Moodle here at this school, and I don't know who's familiar with that or not. It's basically the free version of Blackboard. Moodle and Blackboard are both used by many high schools and colleges. I know Plymouth State University currently uses Moodle. When I'm taking classes at Plymouth State online, they use the same thing. The kids are learning how to navigate a digital world for their work. They are used to now, from my room, passing papers online. When I get their responses to the book that we did in the beginning of the year, I never touched a single piece of paper. They submitted things online. I submitted my responses to them online. You know, it takes a little bit of getting used to for the kids. I think some of the parents liked it because they could get online and they could see it and the paper couldn't get lost in the backpack, which was kind of nice. It was a more permanent version. We're learning how to be responsible users of technology. and communicating with each other online. We're doing blogging. We start with it, I'm the only subscriber to their blog, we get going on it, and then we have the entire class get subscribed to their blog. And they're learning to put up their thoughts online. And when somebody else is looking at them, especially their peers, they know that they have to back up their opinions. It's not just something I'm handing to the teacher, and you know that student that it's just for the teacher. And they're not invested. But the investment changes when they know that their peers are going to be reading their work, and that they're gonna have to back it up. So we're trying to sort of up the ante there with the technology. And I really push the effective, responsible use of technology. What you put out there is permanent. Thinking about what you put up there. I know it seems really cute and goofy to put a funny little icon on your Moodle screen, but if it's something inappropriate, it stays up there for a while, and we talk about that. It's not a punishment thing, but it's, thinking about what you do out in the digital world. When it comes to checking to see what's good for Sanborn High School, I have not met formally with the teachers in quite some time, but I have a resource that's kind of sneaky. It's called the 8th graders who come back to visit me. And first I ask them how they're doing, and most of them get a big hug from me, and then I ask them about the good gossip. And then when they're done telling me that, then I ask them all pretty much the same question one way or another. Okay, what's working this year in language in English? What's not working? What did I miss? And because of the relationship that we have, that they understand I'm not perfect, they're not perfect, nobody's perfect, get over it now. And because we established that relationship through the years, most of them, not everybody, but most of them are comfortable saying, hey, listen, this worked, this didn't work. I wish you'd do more of this. You did a great job with this. And I feel that their response is, for the most part, honest. As much as you can expect. That happens either face-to-face, the kids who walk into Ellis, at 2:30 in the afternoon. A lot of times I get emails. I got one the other day that really warmed my heart. Somebody just, complimenting what she had gotten out of Ellis and her ability to apply it to her college classes, and it made me feel really good. But I look forward to that from the kids. What did you get? Because frankly, I do want to sit down with the teachers again, but it's the kids who can come back to me and say, yes, I felt successful, or no, I didn't feel successful. Especially because they go through 9th grade and 10th grade and 11th grade, and they see the spectrum of teachers. And if they felt that they didn't have something, they know it, and they can tell you, what they did or did not get. And I have made changes in my curriculum through the years as that happens. 3 years ago, I got you didn't do enough on research. Okay, we'll jump on that one. We'll add more of that as we go. So I continue to do that, and I will continue to pump them in from information. And if you'd like to sneak some information, just tell a 9th grader and they'll come back to me with it. Any questions on the English Language Arts program? Okay, mine was only about 119, so you're all set.
First, I'd like to say what I'm about to present is definitely a group effort. The continuous help and support I get from Ann Hadlin and Michelle Katina is priceless. I really appreciate it, and without those two ladies, I really don't think the transition for our Ella students to Sanborn High School would be as seamless. So, just some little highlights. Middle school, attends the district-wide guidance meetings. Again, Michelle Katina asked me to attend those, and I have found them to be very helpful, informative. In the fall, Ms. Hadlin did come to meet the 8th grade students, where she started to discuss the freshman learning community, and she gave out a newsletter that talked a little bit about sports and some classes and clubs. The Sanborn open house was very much encouraged for students to attend, and we did have a really good turnout. The communication with 8th grade parents via newsletter or e-news or website or the outdoor scrolling sign is really important too, for parents to know important updates and meetings and information about the 8th graders. The attendance policy being enforced, I think, has helped also. I know my first couple of years here, it was mentioned that sometimes some of our students were often tardy or absent, and so Mr. Safina and I really started to enforce the attendance policy. Just Monday, Ms. Hadwin came to Ellis and talked about the course selection sheets, and she spent 45 minutes with each homeroom. In March, we celebrate College and Career Week, and all the students do interest inventories, and by 8th grade, they've also explored the career clusters. And we also have Meet that comes and presents to our 5th and 8th graders every year. And in April, we have a gentleman from the Seacoast School of Technology to talk to the students about classes they can start to take their junior year. Move Up Dance in May. Attendance is strongly encouraged. We're already telling the kids about it, already talking about it a lot. The kids are talking about it as well. We have a date already set for our Move Up Day at Sanborn Regional High School in May. And in June, myself and usually Melissa McKeon, and I guess this year Mr. Tot is going to be joining us to go over and just sit down with administration guidance to talk about the upcoming freshmen.
So you can see that we have really made some great progress over the last couple of years, and that we really respect and appreciate being involved with you and helping our students be successful at Fremont. So thank you for all the work that Jen, you and your staff, and Brian and you and your staff do. It's been a tremendous help to us. So.
I know one of the goals that we all have had together as the boards, when I read back on some of the minutes, is that we do try to align our curriculum to yours, and to your middle school students in Newton, at the Newton School. So I think this looks like we're doing a lot with that, and we continue to do it. And obviously, we hope that we can keep that relationship wide open. Did you have any questions for us or any suggestions?
As a superintendent and working with the high school staff, I can say that those relationships have grown tremendously in the last 3 or 4 years in terms of the work that's going on between the two to ensure a much smoother transition for all of us.
That's great. Good. We had one change to the agenda. We were going to, I took a poll from the board this afternoon, and we decided to table the tuition contract discussion at this time. And we will probably ask again to get together as two boards to discuss the tuition contract, but at this point, we're not really ready to do that. And then I'll turn to public input to see if anybody has any comments or questions for us, or would like to speak to the Sanborn board?
I did.
Okay, Angela?
Hi, I'm Angela O'Connor, a Fremont resident. I have 2 children in Ellis right now in kindergarten and in 3rd grade. I've also been involved with the school's curriculum committee, if you will, and we're doing some research out there surveying this population of Fremont to say, for people who have children in the school and also who've either gone through the school, currently in the school, or who don't have children in the school, just to find out how they feel the students are prepared, how they feel what opportunities may exist, and then also for them to say what they would like to see happen with the school and the students in the future. So one of the things that were mentioned by the school a lot was about the foreign language, and so would really like to understand and be included, as Ida had said, in the foreign language study. Would like to really understand how your middle school students work with that and how they're brought along into the high school, because that's something that is a very good interest, strong interest. And then the other thing is just how the middle school day is structured as well. There are some things that we had talked about, whether we offer math and science and social studies every single day to every grade we have in middle school, or if it's every other year and so forth. So really would like to further understand that. We know that it's a tuition agreement that we are involved in Kingston, but it is something that we are definitely investing in Kingston, in Sanborn as well. So we'd really like to understand that so we get the most out of our investment for our children as well, and we can continue that. So I guess some questions on that.
I think that as the relationships have as we continue to strengthen the relationship between Sanborn Regional High School and the 8th grade and that 8th grade transition year, I certainly see the opportunity for folks to work with the two middle school populations together. One of the discussions early on had been the notion of what would a music program look like, for example. We have a fairly, it's an expanding program at our middle school for band. We've had some personnel changes and the numbers are bursting at the seams in the middle school band. How might that translate or how can we include students from Fremont in there? So I think there are opportunities for discussions. I chuckled when you said the schedule because the schedule at our middle school is an art unto itself. And I can't even profess to understand all of the intricacies of how that schedule works. But certainly we can hook folks up with the right people to gain a better understanding of how the schedule works and why it works the way it does, and as well as the foreign language piece.
No, I think that would be really interesting. I know that we've had some meetings and some deliberative sessions, and we want to make sure we use the resources that we have, to deliver as much as possible to the students. So if we have an opportunity to possibly do a foreign language, is there anything that we can work with the Sanborn, to benefit both of the districts and so forth going forward? Versus, just because we do come together. So if there's something that we can do even, in the middle school level.
John, that would go through you.
Right, the middle school 6th, 7th, 8th, and it's its own building, correct? It doesn't share space.
Do you offer more than one foreign language, or?
They have an opportunity to experience French and Spanish.
Is it half a year? It's a whole year,
They have,
one in a whole year.
We've made some significant changes to it. Right now, the students have an opportunity to take French or Spanish for the whole year. They've done it differently in the past where they've had a sampling of it each year.
So if a student takes Spanish in middle school, do they automatically go to Spanish 2 when they hit high school?
I believe at this point they have to meet the competencies in order to be able to move on.
And do you have a band room in your middle school? I mean, is there an actual room, a physical room for band?
Does it sound?
We do.
Okay.
No, it's not soundproof. In fact,
Is it
one of the-
soundproof?
Well, no, that's a great question. That's a great
I used to
question. In fact,
practice
it's,
the trumpet.
it's at the end of one of our hallways, and it's in what are essentially portable classrooms, and it's very loud. We have at least one teacher who is right across the hall, whose spouse sits on the board, and it's, I'm sure that, I'm sure that he's probably had, comments over the years. We're actually looking at moving it to a different area of the building because the program has expanded considerably this year. So we're looking to make some changes, but it is loud down there. There are so many kids now, I don't know if you know the layout of the building, but you can hear the band now from one end of the building to the other. So we really have to figure out how we're gonna.
And I'd like to, I
It's a
guess,
good problem to have.
challenge, if you will, both boards, because I don't even know if this could be done or not, but if both boards have different things, opportunities they're working on, whether it's increasing, because you're busting at the seams for band right now, but you don't have enough funds quite, to hire more, or to expand more, we would like to do something with music too. Is there a way that we can work together? You know what I mean, to kind of offset costs? And I don't know the legal ramifications of that or anything, but if our kids are coming together in high school, why can't they possibly come together before that? Like, is there different things we can think differently to try to meet the needs in this day and age? There's no way we could offer 2 full-time languages here, but is there a way we can tag on, and help offset costs and share and things like that? Just something to challenge us to try to think of some creative solutions.
Is band after school? Is it an after-school program, or is it during the
During the
curriculum?
day.
Really? Okay.
As it should be,
It would be easier for us to work with you on that if it was after
Yes.
school. That's all I was thinking.
That's really creative.
But I do agree that if you can have it during school, it's much nicer. Okay.
Do you have a home ec club? No. Family and consumer science? Do you offer that? High school.
We can play instruments, but we can't cook.
I used to
There's nothing
They used
wrong
to
with
have it,
that.
How many children are in the middle school?
I'm sorry?
How many children are in the middle school?
Four, right around four and change.
I had a question. I don't know, did I have to put my name on the list? or-
No, what is your name, though?
Sue Levine,
Sue Levine?
and I have 2 children at Ellis, and I was just wondering, going back to the foreign language, are we the only school feeding into Sanborn that doesn't have foreign language before we get there? And I thought we were, but I was just wondering.
Yeah, the only, Ellis and Sanborn Regional Middle School are the 2 feeder schools to our high
Okay.
school program.
Okay. And is, like, what happens with the Fremont kids when they come in? Is there's a level 1 class for Fremont, and the Sanborn kids are going into level 2?
No,
and-
not necessarily.
So how does it work, I guess, I'm
Kids
just
are all mixed in.
wondering.
They're all mixed in. They have the opportunity to take either language. All students do.
So just to clarify, not every 8th grader at Sanborn Regional Middle School takes a foreign language.
Okay, that's the difference.
Okay.
Well, I'm very conscious of the fact that you folks have a meeting back in your own district in 20 minutes, right? So, we just can't get enough.
First, yeah.
We'll be thinking about you while we have our meeting too.
Well, I guess, Brian and Michelle can figure out the next joint board meeting that we'd like to have together, and until then, I guess you can motion to adjourn.
So
Eddie, before we do that, can I poke a little bit? Over the years, there have been, just looking back at notes and things, there have been numerous questions or numerous times that the whole notion of the tuition agreement has been raised. Are there particular areas of the tuition agreement that we need to discuss, or what should the board be thinking about in order to have a productive conversation
Well,
about
I
it?
think after our board meets to go over some of the things that we've been looking at, maybe what we could do if we schedule it for the next meeting, and I'm gonna kind of look to Michelle too for guidance here. We may wanna put a little bit more on paper as to what we're thinking before the meeting, so that you'll have an idea of where we're coming from, in regards to the tuition contract and basically the costs to Ellis School. We're just finding, on a broad basis, we're just trying to look at the costs in our district and our tax rate, and we've seen a significant increase in our tax rates over the last few years, and it's starting to affect what we can do here at Ellis because of the cost factors. So, I mean, that's an overview, but it's, there's nothing, I don't think, specific at this point that I could point to, Brian, to give you a heads up on. It's something we wanna talk about as 2 boards together to really kind of hash out what we might be able to do.
Can I speak?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say, thank you. I have decided not to run for re-election, so I probably will not be at the next joint meeting. But I do really appreciate, and it's just wonderful to see the collaboration between the administration and the teachers, and I hope it does continue.
Thank you.
I just have one thing, and it's in the form of a question. Would you say that the public in
and the public in Kingston and the public in Newton, is it time for a review on a larger, stage of the contract as it was set out? In other words, when people talk about it, do they know what they're talking about? Is anyone, would you say your public is aware of the contract and what it says?
I don't know. There's definitely strong feelings
Yes.
from people about the contract, but, and it's available to anybody who wants to see it, of course. We've provided it to people that have asked to see the contract. So I would say that it's available if they wanna read it. And it was in the annual reports as well, so it wasn't some, document that was never shown, you know. I think anybody who's interested in reading it certainly can.
Okay.
So, motion to adjourn?
So moved.